We're all living in a world gone geek. It's time to geek hard or go home. The podcast is real. Here's your host, Grounded Geek.
Hey guys, it is another Sunday night, which means it's time for the podcast is real from World Gone Geek. I'm your host, Jeff, also known as Grounded Geek. We're glad that you're here. It's a very exciting show tonight. We've got a great guest. Can't wait to get to that. But before we do, I'm going to bring in my co-host. Let's go ahead and take a look here. We got Aaliyah. Welcome to the show. And then we got the birthday boy. He showed up tonight. There he is. Happy birthday, Utah.
Happy birthday.
Greetings, programs. Hey.
Yeah, I didn't expect you to be here tonight because it was your birthday. I said if you needed to party, go party.
Oh yeah, well, you know, after a certain age, partying ends at 6.
That is true. Well, no, we still party here, right? I mean, we have fun talking. And
this is a party, and look,
I guess it can be. Here,
look at what my family got.
Ooh,
thank you, everyone. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you so much.
It looks like it was a K-pop birthday. Is that what I'm sensing?
Yes. My family has fueled my K-pop obsession even further by giving me gifts for a different K-pop group than the one we saw in Fort Worth. So this is a Blackpink light stick, which is kind of like those toy hammers that, you know, make a sound but it lights up and it's black and pink, thus the name.
There you go.
And then I've got a little light up plushie, and this one actually has a microphone in it, so you can see it's sound activated.
Oh, look at
with the Blackpink logo, and it's very soft, and it's in the shape of the heart. It's very nice.
Very cool.
I love that.
Yes. So yeah, it was a very pleasant surprise. I wasn't expecting anything really. I thought we did all the big stuff last year.
Yeah.
But no, they surprised me, and so now.
When your birthday happens once a year.
It happens.
Right.
It comes around
at the same time too, which is weird, right? Like,
right?
It just keeps.
It's like the same day.
You can't avoid it. It just keeps happening.
I don't know what it is, but it's nice because Blackpink was actually one of the first K-pop groups that I got into, mostly because they have a documentary on Netflix called what's it called? Light Up the Sky.
About Blackpink.
Yes, about Blackpink. And so they're like the biggest girl group a lot of people haven't heard of. But
well, I mean, if you paid attention to any of the K-pop, and if you have kids, like Rachel was really into
One Direction.
BTS.
Yeah,
No,
BTS.
K-pop group. Yeah, BTS.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And I was like, who? And then I watched some of their music videos, and oh my gosh, they're so catchy. It's not even funny.
It's kind of nuts how the songwriters and producers come up with such catchy and the earworms. They're just really
definitely. Yeah, and you wouldn't think, but yeah, and so here you are becoming a K-pop fan. I mean, I can't say I wouldn't say I'm a fan because I'm not like necessarily seeking out new K-pop bands or listening. But
or going to concerts.
What I've heard, it's some good stuff. Like BTS is a really good group. From what I've heard of Blackpink, they have a good sound. It's pretty cool. So who would have known? 50-year-old men getting into K-pop.
Hey. You're never too young.
I guess not. Hey, if I can go to a One Direction concert, I suppose I could go to the K-pop concert. But my daughter is she's like 22 now, so
which is the perfect age for going to K-pop
probably.
concert.
Yeah, but she's married. He can foot the bill for
now,
that one.
Right now, it's his turn. It's his responsibility.
Yeah.
Hey, when I took Simi to Twice, I was not the only parent there. I'm just going to say that.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah. No, I wasn't. Same thing at One Direction. Yeah, I wasn't. That's funny. Go ahead.
It doesn't stop when they get married. It stops as soon as your child moves out or they turn 18 for some kids. To footing the bill.
Oh yeah. That's not the only time. Yeah, you're right.
Speaking from personal experience, are you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Aaliyah's got to pay for her own One Direction tickets now.
That's right.
No, Aaliyah's been happy to. This is my dad's like, okay, so if we're gonna do this, you're paying for both of us, right?
Oh.
Hey, I
role
haven't thought of that
reversal.
angle.
Hold on a second. Your dad might be onto
Shoot.
something.
Yeah,
Jacob and I went to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. And Libby and I went to see the Batman. Like, they should be footing the bill now, don't
They should have
taking
paid for your
Dad to the
ticket,
movies.
man. Right.
See? But my dad
Yeah.
includes interest on anything and everything.
Wait, he
Like-
charges interest?
He's like, okay, what if wait?
Like daily?
Yeah, or hourly. He's such a dad.
Oh my gosh.
That's
Today-
hilarious.
Yesterday, I went over there to go visit them, and we were out of toilet paper, and obviously we need toilet paper. And so my mom was they get their stuff from Sam's Club, so they had a stock of toilet paper,
Oh yeah, in bulk.
and bulk toilet paper. And I was like, well, if you give me that, Dad's gonna make me pay for it.
He's going to find out one way or another.
He will. And as soon as I walked out there, he was like, all right, so it's there's 235 sheets. That's $5 a sheet
Oh jeez,
Oh my gosh.
plus
that's
interest
like $1,000.
just for a 32 pack of toilet paper.
Jeez. Wow. Yeah, that's, there's inflation, shipping
True.
prices right
We've
now.
got
There's the
supply
war in
chain
Ukraine, like
issues.
all this stuff,
There's a
supply
lot of
issues.
things happening.
Yeah,
Yeah,
supply, demand.
I mean, gas prices alone and toilet paper's next, right?
right.
Yeah.
Isn't that how it works? Isn't that like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and then after toilet paper comes internet access.
Oh, let's
Yeah.
not even go there, because then that would, boy, can you imagine? Like, everybody flipped out over there not being enough toilet paper when the pandemic started. Can you imagine if the internet went down in the United States?
Yeah,
What
Right.
would
Or,
happen?
if all of a,
No.
or if all of a sudden internet instead of paying whatever you're paying a month, all of a sudden it doubles or
Oh,
triples.
doubles? Yeah. Oh, that could happen, right? I mean, there's
Don't
no
say that out
there's
loud.
no oversight over that. I don't think.
I
That's
tripped
like,
out when I saw a phone bill that was $300, and I was like,
Who are
Who
you
Who the
calling?
heck are you calling?
no, I didn't know.
Are you
I
calling
was
like a psychic hotline? Do they still have those?
Yeah, do they still have 1-900 numbers? Is that what you're doing?
They charge you like,
No.
what is it, $1.50 a minute or something?
No,
was that?
it was when I got this new phone, and
You probably
and then
had
apparently
like
all the first
activation
month's
fees
charges.
and-
yeah, and then apparently I was also behind a month. I didn't know. So
Yeah,
That's
Yeah.
funny.
they conveniently forget to tell you, oh, and your first month is going to be a baller.
yeah, they did not tell me that. They did not tell
Yeah,
me that. My sister told me. She works at AT&T. They tried to play me.
Oh boy.
They all do.
Anyway, I know.
Except for that one owned by Ryan Reynolds. I hear he's a nice guy.
Mint.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, don't upset Mint, because we'd love for them to be a sponsor, and then Ryan Reynolds will be a guest. That would be awesome. No, hey, speaking of sponsors, so last week we gave away some movies. Paramount Pictures was kind enough to give us some movies, which we gave away. We had some winners. We started a new thing. We're going to do it again this week. It's a movie quote of the week. So I picked a movie quote. We're going to play it for you. All you have to do is call our Speak Pipeline call. It's on the internet. So speakpipe.com. You can tell my background is in radio. So it's kind of like, call. We'll take the seventh
Call.
caller. No, go to speakpipe.com/worldgungeek. Record yourself saying the movie quote of the week, which I'm going to play shortly. And we're going to give you a free digital code. So this week there was supposed to be a new set of movie codes. I was out of town. Don't get me started on my trip to Orlando and losing my wallet in an Uber
Orlando.
and
Oh,
spending
no.
48 hours trying to get a hold of them. Yeah, it was a nightmare. Anyway,
It's not
so
Orlando,
because
it's
of all that,
Orlando.
it was a bad week. It was a really bad week. But it's good now. Everything's good now. Everything's back.
You got your wallet?
Huh?
You got your
Well,
wallet?
see, I didn't want to do the whole thing.
You
on
brought
the-
it up.
I know. So, yes, the driver called me last night, told me he had it. He's going to mail it to me tomorrow, which is great.
That's awesome.
So he's great. Uber is terrible. Like, this is, if you follow me,
we kinda knew
Grounded
that.
Geek on Twitter, you can see some of my tirades against Uber support. And they keep trying to get me to go to the DMs because that way nobody sees what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're like,
But they don't respond to me in the DMs. They only respond when I speak out in the
when
world.
you call them out in public.
Yeah. So I don't know. And but it's finally resolved, but it did take way too long from Uber. I mean, it was the support and I've loved Uber forever. Like, I've been using them for quite a while, over Lyft even. No offense to Lyft, but I've always been an Uber guy. But their support really
pink
did
mustache,
fail this
right?
time. They really failed this time. So I'm hoping, you know, oh, I didn't know if I was, yeah, you're now liking my Twitter posts about Uber support. It's getting notifications. I should have turned the sound off. I'm going to take that off. All right. So crazy week. And during that time, they ended up to where we do not have any new movies to give away this week, but I still have an extra code for Scream. It's a digital code. You'll own it digitally, as well as you can own something that's digital and in the cloud somewhere, but it'll be yours. We'll give you that digital code if you go to speakpipe.com/worldgonegeek and record yourself saying the movie quote of the week. And here it is.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
All right, and that was in honor of Utah's birthday today. So I'll play it one more time.
Damn it, Jim, what the hell's the matter with you? Other people have birthdays. Why are we treating yours like a funeral?
All right, so and you know what? Bonus entries for your best Bones impression, right? Dr. McCoy. We want to hear it.
McCoy.
So if you can do it like him, and it could be DeForest Kelley or Carl Urban. I don't care, whichever one you wanted.
Did a really great.
He did, right? He sounded so good, but it didn't sound like an impression. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like
that was my favorite part of it. Was
like
it was
it didn't sound like a guy doing an impression. He made it his own a little bit, it was still like essentially Bones. Anyway, all right. So give us a call at. Give us a call
Aaliyah's like,
at
what?
speakpipe.com/worldgonegeek. Star Trek's out of Aaliyah's like, nope. Record yourself saying the movie of the week, and we're going to give you someone. We'll draw a winner probably around Wednesday or Thursday, and somebody's getting a copy of Scream. So that'll be awesome.
I was talking to one of the older gentlemen at the church yesterday, and he was like, "Oh, I remember when the very first Star Trek came out," and I'm just looking at him like,
in the theaters or on TV.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, that's even before Utah and I. So
that's true. The TV show did come out before we were.
Not a whole lot of years, but a few.
Fair.
He's not on TV, but
I know it's not a whole lot, but I'm claiming that.
Yeah,
I'm like, it came out before I was born.
yes,
I need those. Give me those. You know,
give me those
4 years.
Those couple of years. Yeah.
I need it. I need it, really do, after this week. All right. With the Oscars coming up next week, and don't forget, we have our award show special 2022 next Sunday night before the Oscar telecast from 7 to 8 Eastern. Yeah. So if you choose not to watch everyone strut down the red carpet and gawk at the amazing outfits, come here and gawk at us. Maybe one of us will be wearing a fancy outfit. Who knows? We'll see. But that'll be our Oscar special. And in anticipation of that, we have a very special guest tonight who is actually an Oscar-nominated writer, screenwriter. He's worked on tons of shows. Some of these that we're going to talk about tonight, you're going to recognize. They're some of your favorite shows. He's been involved. And now he's making the transition from screenwriting into author with a brand new book called The Man Who Came and Went. Please welcome to the show, Joe Stillman. Welcome.
Hey.
There he is.
Hey guys, thank you.
We're so glad you could be here. So we're going to talk a little bit about, we're going to start, I think, I would like to get into your career. I would love to know how someone gets started doing what you do. Usually we do have sometimes actors. We've had a couple of screenwriters on, and it's really great sometimes to hear that story of coming up and where did you get the bug to do this, and why is this what you chose to do with your life?
I don't know if there's a really clear answer. It just kind of happened by accident.
Sure.
But I went to film school. I was making short films, and it seemed like the thing to do was write screenplays. So I just started to do that. And while I was doing that, and spending about some years trying to get good at it, I was making a living quite by accident writing copy for movie trailers.
Ah.
And that sort of led me bit by bit it led me to promos, working for Nickelodeon and other cable companies. And it was really that road, the promo road, that eventually led me to do to work on a show as a writer for Nickelodeon called The Adventures of Pete and Pete.
Yes.
Yes.
You guys know that show?
Oh yes, of course.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's one of the exciting. I knew that people would get excited about that one because that's like old school Nickelodeon, right? Like that's when
Yeah.
Nickelodeon was still like really. I mean, it was. I don't know how to describe it now. I still
were
like
pretty-
some of the stuff they're doing now, but
Yeah.
you go all the way back to You Can't Do That in Television, Adventures
Right.
of Pete and Pete, like the what was the Salute Your Shorts, right?
Yep,
All
right.
those are great. Tell us
Back
a
when
little
they
bit
only had
about
one
that.
channel.
Yeah, that was great.
Well, that was, that show began as a minute-long vignette series, if you know what I mean by that. It was 60 seconds, and it came during commercial breaks on Nickelodeon, and it originated in the promo department. There were a bunch of us working there, and Will McRobb and Chris Viscardi, two people in the promo department, writers and producers. Were given the go-ahead to make this minute-long vignette series. If you ever get to see them, I don't know how you would, but they're just little bits of genius. And eventually, the president of Nickelodeon, Jerry Laybourne, really grew to like it, and she said, "Why don't you do a special?" So they did one special, then another special, and finally, they were commissioned to just do the first season of the show.
Wow.
Wow.
So you were a staff writer, you were head writer. Like what were you on that show as far as
On
writing?
Pete and Pete? Well, it was basically me, Will, and Chris, the two creators, and we had some freelance writers who worked for us, but we were the ones who were there on staff and rewriting all the episodes.
So whose idea was the tattoo on a child? The Petunia. Petunia, right?
Like,
That was.
who are
Yeah.
you going after legally because you put a tattoo on a child and
No, I love it. I think it's hilarious.
considered abuse?
Yeah.
I think that I'm thinking that was probably Will.
That's
Will
funny.
McRobb and Chris Viscardi became partners and just created a couple shows after that. So yeah, that was Will.
And you guys had a lot throughout the kind of history of that show, had a lot of kind of rock and roll legends come on to be guest stars too. How did
Yeah.
how did that happen?
Yeah,
You
what
had
was
Michael
that like?
Stipe, and
Right.
I believe Debbie Harry was on there. Iggy Pop. Who else?
Yeah.
There's some others.
It just kind of it snowballed, and it was rock people. It was also actors. I don't know if I'm going to be shooting myself in the foot to say this, but there was an episode that I wrote where Iggy Pop had to sing a song, and I wrote a song that he sang, and I was feeling really good about myself, except the song was kind of purposely bad. I mean, the joke was that it was a really bad song, but it was still a really cool thing.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, right. Iggy Pop singing your song. Doesn't matter whether it's bad or good, right? I mean,
And he didn't punch me in the face after. And
Yeah.
that was a really good sign.
So you kind of that's Nickelodeon's kind of where you got your episodic
Yeah.
But
career started, right? Where did that take you?
Well, while that was going on, I think it was season 2. Somebody in the promo department in Nickelodeon knew somebody in the promo department at MTV, and so I went over there to see if I could write for Beavis and Butthead. Didn't know anything about it, and so I pitched a show, an episode idea to Mike. It worked out, and so I was kind of doing that concurrently, which was cool because Beavis and Butthead was freelance. I didn't have to be in an office for that, so. That's kind of how that kind of got started.
So what? I got to know what it was like working at Beavis and Butthead.
Well,
Or did you just do the one episode, or did you
I
work with
did
Michael more than
a
that?
lot. I mean, it was honestly just ridiculously fun. One time I was playing pool with Mike. You know, he didn't know New York too well, and I knew these pool places, and so I really, I forget the reason, but whatever. I had to go pee, and I got the idea for an episode called "Difficulty Urinating," where Beavis and Butthead kind of like think too much and they can't really remember how to urinate, and they try to do it, like control it with their minds, but they can't, and so it becomes this prolonged thing where they just need help to try to like pee.
That's
So
fun.
it was that kind of like world where it didn't matter, wasn't getting paid much, but it was just fun.
Yeah.
Well,
I
and
mean,
if
I
you
would
know Beavis
imagine.
and Butthead, them have overthinking something is not a lot.
Right. But it's got to be a lot of fun working for, especially shows. I mean, Pete and Pete was kind of the same way in Beavis and Butthead. They're both these like, they don't quite take place in like a reality that make, you know what I mean? Like things can happen in there that just would be absurd, and you can really explore a lot of really crazy ideas like that
Totally.
one. Yeah.
There was an episode, just because most of your audience won't have seen the show, but where Little Pete, it's a show about two brothers named Pete, Big Pete and Little Pete, and Little Pete realizes that the underwear inspector, I forget the number, but it was like inspector. You know how on your clothes, if you dig in, there's a little number like inspected by 50.
Whatever, yeah.
And so he decided that this person's been inspecting his underwear all his life, and he just wanted to honor him and thank him. And so it became an episode where he meets his underwear inspector.
Who thought of that? Who was like, oh,
That's
man,
great. That's what I love.
That's fantastic.
This pair of underwear, like who first realized that? I need to know.
Well, I guess they want people to feel like the sense of ownership for the underwear that they inspect, and if your number's on the underwear, then gosh darn it, you're going to do a really good job.
I didn't even realize that people inspected underwear, but I guess there's a job for everything.
It's quality control. If you're Fruit of the Loom, you don't want bad underwear to leave the factory. You got to check the underwear.
People responsible,
right.
You don't want anybody to get away with bad underwear. It's,
correct.
And it's
America, man.
And let's face it, it's not a career that gets enough encouragement around here, right? I mean, it's like, where are the degrees for underwear inspection? And
I feel
would
like
that be at a
like
trade
that's
school?
a trade.
Would that be?
Yeah, I think that's a trade school thing. I don't know if
the trades don't get enough. The trades are more important sometimes than these college degree jobs. And here, underwear inspector has been totally neglected. Do you know one person who actually has that job?
Well, career day in my high school, the underwear inspector came around to.
Are you serious?
No.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
I was like, okay, wait a minute. But that's my point, right? Like, it's a job you don't even think. Somebody's got that job. That's cool. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, that's kind of like, that's the thing you realize when you get out of college and you go into the world. Like, there's a lot of jobs that you would just never think existed, and you begin to realize it's out there in the world.
Yeah,
it's true.
Yeah.
Those underwear inspectors they might be living double lives. They're told not to reveal their actual occupation as underwear inspectors, so they have to make something up for their families.
Exactly, that's the premise. He was kind of a superhero.
But then they're going around, and when they see somebody's underwear hanging out their pants or something, they're like, "Oh, I inspected those."
That could be a whole thing.
Hey, maybe that's where that trend started. With the pants, they wanted the inspectors to get
they were
credit
giving
for
the
work that they
recognition.
do. We've been hiding the inspectors' work for all this time. We make very, very careful not to show it but we don't want anybody to see that. And somebody at some point said, "Hey, I'm just going to let it fly out there. Everybody should know."
That's
Inspector 72 needs recognition, and here it is.
I choose to believe that's why it's going on. Yeah. That's all good.
You're a glass is half full kind of guy.
So did you work on the Beavis and Butthead movie as well, or did that?
Yes, I did.
So how does that come about where a TV show gets to become a movie? Did somebody approach Mike Judge, or was Mike Judge like, we got to make this into a movie? Like which comes first, the chicken or the egg in that kind of situation?
In this case, I think that Paramount was the studio involved, and they thought it would be a good idea, so they came to Mike, and I think I told you I'd been writing spec screenplays for like a real like horribly long period of time, and so I showed a screenplay of mine to Mike, and he was into it, so that's how I got to work on the movie.
Awesome. And so, what was that experience like? Like, as far as like, was that the first major motion picture from one of your scripts you were involved with?
I love that you call it a major motion picture, and it was.
Yeah.
But
It totally was.
It was like it was funny, right? Because the whole infrastructure existed for the TV show, and so they took that same production infrastructure and put it towards the movie, which made it. I don't want to say easy because they produced it and I didn't, but it was I don't know, it was a great experience. What was your question again? I forgot.
Well, I was just curious what that was like. Was that your first time that something you'd worked on was in theaters? Like, was that the first movie?
Totally.
Yeah.
I had once gotten to write a screenplay for George Romero.
Oh wow!
And it was supposed to get made, but the only reason he had me write it is because he was on a production. It was called Monkey Shines. He was making that movie.
I remember that.
That movie went over schedule because they were working with a monkey, and the monkey just, did not really cooperate. Would stay in his trailer, refused to come out.
Oh my gosh! A diva
better,
monkey.
TV cable, whatever.
That's the worst.
But this was the first movie produced, that I worked on, and that was just mind blowing. That was great.
Yeah. So I'm assuming, was it a zombie script for Romero, or was it something else?
It was called Apartment Living, and set in Florida. It was about an apartment that was built over the Fountain of Youth, and so the building itself came to life, and kind of like had a bit of a romantic thing going on with one of our main characters. It's a little
interesting. Okay.
A rom-com between a tenant and a building.
Yeah. No, that's interesting. I mean, when you say George Romero, like you typically think of like zombies.
You think
or
of
horror.
zombies.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So that's interesting that he was looking for something in that arena.
Well, there could have been zombies in it. We don't know.
Yeah, were there zombies?
Well, I think there were some zombies on the production, on the crew.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
So
sure.
That
Yeah.
sort of like satisfied the.
Especially early in the morning. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Now, so going from, I guess, so I want to jump into kind of later in your career, but I would love to hear any other stories leading up to that as well. But, I mentioned at the top of the show that you've been nominated for an Oscar. In fact, you're our first Oscar nominee ever on The Podcast Is Real. So thank you so much for coming on.
So thank you so much.
It gives us a little bit of credibility now that we are interviewing an Oscar nominee.
Well, wait. Did you win a BAFTA? Did you win the BAFTA?
Yeah, they won the BAFTA, right?
Okay.
Yes, we
Yeah.
did.
Well, see, we have an award winner here. This is great.
That's true. So absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to ignore the overseas trophy. That's of course very important. But yeah. And so I haven't mentioned, so for those of you who don't know, Joe wrote Shrek, which is, one of the funniest comedy. And I know Aaliyah's been so excited for this interview. She's a Shrek fan. My son-in-law is a huge Shrek fan. It turns out. So I don't know if they're watching tonight, but yeah. So tell us how Shrek came about.
Classic.
Let's see. I had moved to LA after Beavis and Butthead and King of the Hill were done, and I'm sorry, Beavis and Pete, and I was working on King of the Hill, and after that. I just, because I work in animation, I met with DreamWorks folks, and they brought me on to work on that. I don't know how familiar you are with animation, but basically it takes a really, really long time
Sure.
to make an animated film. It
Yeah.
could be, let's say, 4 to 5 years, and that was the case with Shrek. So they had been working on it for a couple of years before I came on, and then I came on as like a rewrite guy, and spent about 2 years on it.
Wow.
And initially, I know when they went to produce it, didn't it was Chris Farley, I think, was who they had in mind for
Yeah.
Shrek. Is that right?
When I got there, Chris Farley had voiced everything.
Oh,
And
really?
yeah.
Yeah, I
And
know there's some clips out there of like the animatics with his
voice,
performance.
his
Yeah,
performance.
it's interesting. It's hard to imagine it not being Mike Myers after all, just because it's so iconic now. You know what I mean? But I absolutely loved Chris Farley, and it was a huge loss to him for him not to be still making movies. But yeah, I love that guy.
I know. That was a strange experience. I wasn't on it when he was on it himself. I didn't get there until Mike Myers was doing Shrek.
Interesting.
So
Okay,
you
and so
got to meet.
that go ahead, Aaliyah.
Oh, sorry. I love Shrek so much. It's just one of those movies that's just like you could quote it at any point in time. Like when you're sad, when you're happy, when you're around friends or family, and that's for me, family. Like we
Yeah.
just randomly will just quote Donkey or that's a nice boulder.
making waffles.
Just random things. But um, I'm very curious about the concept ideation behind Shrek, um, and even obviously the writing, how that kind of came about.
Well, or maybe you don't. Shrek was originally a kid's book by William Steig. Am I getting that right?
I think.
And it's
I
a
did not know that.
very minimal book, but you can take that and expand, and that's what happened. And the first writers who were on Ted and Terry, I'm forgetting their last names, but God, come on, Ted and Terry.
Sure.
Well, yeah, jeez.
They did a lot of work to flesh out what was going on and a plot and the characters, and all I can really tell you about a process like that is it's kind of evolutionary, and it happens kind of like one stage at a time. When you do animation at that level, um, you literally create the movie in storyboard form. There are storyboard artists who do scenes, and they do them, back and forth with writers, and then they put those scenes onto video because you've seen some animatics, and you create the whole movie in animatic form, and it has music and it has effects, and then you sit down in a big movie theater and you watch it with a whole lot of people who worked on it and other people working on other movies at DreamWorks. And then you realize how very much you suck and how very bad the movie is, but you created some scenes that are really, really good, and you go to a very big room with a very big table that is very intimidating room because everybody's talking about like what their impressions are, and then you go back to the drawing board and you make the movie again, and you do that over and over and over.
Oh,
And
wow.
because you get to see your work at all these different stages, I think it gives you a shot at doing a better job.
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
do they? Sorry. Do
Well,
they? Like you start? They give you a concept, right? We're gonna create this Shrek movie. Give you kind of like some information, and then you start writing. Or do you work with the storyboard artists and you guys start collaborating together? Like, what is that start process like?
There's no one particular way that happens, and every project, whether it's a movie or TV show, well, just to talk about movies, because movies have a way of really being very, very different depending on how you're working. For instance, on Beavis and Butthead, we handed off the script, and they made the script almost like it was a live action movie. They had the script in hand, and everything was animated. in the case of Shrek, it just they got a structure that gradually looked like it was good and seemed to be working, and it was just a question of digging back into the scenes within the structure and trying to find a way to make them funny and make them better and make them work emotionally, and it was just a process of going back to the drawing board again and again.
And so is that the same process then for the actors? So like during that animatic process, they come in and record that script and you guys make changes. They come back in and record the bits that you've changed again. Like, so they're going through that 4 or 5 years process as well?
Yes and no. What's successful and what works on their part stays. And very often in animation, what happens is you work with actors who have a track record or who are famous, and you can't keep going back to the drawing board with them. Their salaries are kind of high, and you just don't have that kind of availability. So you record scratch tracks, and you record them with actors who are not as well known, but who kind of will give you a sense of what the quote unquote stars will. I don't know why I said quote unquote stars. There actually are stars.
They're actually stars.
Sure.
And so you work with these scratch narrations, and then finally, when you feel like the scene's in a good enough place, then you go to the actors, to the stars, and you work with them. Yeah. But I know, for instance, Mike had recorded the movie. He has kind of a Scottish accent or something like that, right?
Yes.
In Shrek. He actually had recorded the entire movie without that accent. And they decided, I think him and everybody else, that it actually called for the Scottish accent. So he went in and redid the whole thing.
Wow.
I was curious about that because actors like Mike Myers are very and Eddie Murphy too. There's a lot of creative, comedic, energy in those guys anyway. And I wonder how much you see a lot of them recording just like riffs and other lines, and how much improvisation sometimes do the actors put on in an animated film. Obviously on the set that kind of thing happens, but when it comes to animation, how much deviation happens from what you write versus some of what they say, particularly with guys like Mike Myers and Eddie Murphy, who love to just kind of go off and do their own thing and are naturally funny.
Okay, I'm going to give you an example. There's a line where somewhere in the middle, towards the end of the movie, Donkey says, when this is all over, I'm going to need a whole lot of therapy or something like that. And that was my line. And Eddie Murphy improvised, look my eye twitching right now. And what he did is he took a joke that was okay, and he just, hammered it so it really went home.
Yeah.
So
who created the song? Who created the song? I need to know.
Which one?
Welcome to Duloc. It's the perfect town.
I don't know. I wish I knew the answer. Do you want to fire me and get somebody else on your show?
No.
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 I need to
That's
know
a hilarious.
I love the song.
I know.
It's a very good.
The song
it's obviously
is
a little bit of a dig at Disney, obviously too, since this is a DreamWorks photo or film to have a little fun with Disney World. And yeah, I mean that's. I always wonder how much of that happens in the writing room, and then they're like, no, we're never going to do that. We don't want to make somebody mad or whatever. But no, that was in the movie. That was awesome. I remember watching that scene. I was cracking up.
Well, they kept it for the musical too.
Yeah. Oh,
I didn't see the musical.
Yeah.
That's okay.
I'm curious. I want to do research to see how the musical happened. You always wonder, how do they take a movie that has little to no music and then somehow write a book and music and songs and kind of capture the original movie, but then also make it something different And Shrek is one of those. I was going to be in a local production of it. And yeah, that song was so good, they brought it from the movie and kept it in the show. So,
Yeah.
you know.
Wow. Well, I think I know who your next guest is going to be. You know,
I think we're going to have to
person
find
who
out
did the musical.
the composer. Yeah,
Yeah.
Does the Smash Mouth song make it into the musical? You tell?
it does. Yes.
Really?
Really?
I believe
they-
so. I
they do
think
that
the
as an
Broadway
encore.
show was on Netflix a while back because I remember watching a little bit of it. You know, like a recorded,
No
like
way, I
some,
didn't
sort of
know
like they
that.
did Hamilton or whatnot. So it's out there
Oh,
for viewing.
It's out there somewhere. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the original Broadway class, but it's a a big production.
Yeah.
So the I'd like to know then because you were involved in Shrek 2 as well, right?
Yes.
What about 3 and 4?
Or
I
five.
was not.
Okay, that's why they're not as good, I think. Because I mean, no, let's be honest. Personally, I think Shrek 1 and 2 were like, I mean, they're just
Great.
at
Good
some point.
bookends.
Some of these movies, they're very good. At some points, these movies start to get a little bit derivative and not as funny anymore. You know what I mean? They just kind of start to fall off. I didn't like as much the other ones. Is there a 5th one too? Or is there that one, the one
No,
that they're
I
working on
remember there
coming
being
out?
speculation or rumors about a 5th one being in pre-production at some point, but this was like
Really?
pre-pandemic, so who knows?
I think that they might do a reboot, but I don't know. So I don't know if it would be number 5 so much as
As
who
a-
knows.
Yeah.
It's going to be a
Well,
live
something
action
new.
reboot.
No.
Live action. Hey, DreamWorks is going to go the route of Disney and start just making all their animated.
Live action.
Yeah, Kung Fu Panda, Shrek, and all these. We'll just bring it back as live action. Jack Black could still do the.
He could do the panda so easily. Absolutely.
He could do the
That's so true.
motion capture for it. So I think that would be funny. So tell me about the sequel process then. Like at some point, did somebody say, "Hey, we've got some more money. We would like to make another one of these," and then you get the call, or how does that work?
Actually, I think 2 began while 1 was still in production,
Wow.
Really?
which is in part, I suppose, because it just takes such a long time to do it.
Sure.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So like the first one, I was brought in as a rewrite guy because I was on 1 when that was started, I think. I think. So yeah, it was just basically more of the same. Just do it faster because we don't want to get it out there.
Yeah.
Papa needs a new airplane.
Right.
There you go.
Now I know when movies are nominated for Oscars, especially ones that involve a team, like writing sometimes does, and or sound editing or all the, you know what I mean. There's not one guy who does that. There's lots of. Did you get to go to any of the award shows? Like, were you at the BAFTAs? Were you at the Oscars?
I was at the BAFTAs, and I went with Roger Schulman, and was it Ted or Terry? I think it was Ted who was there. Ted Elliott. I'm remembering his last name.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm feeling really good
The
about
man with
myself
2
right
first
now.
names.
And yeah, so we were there at the BAFTAs, and I was not prepared at all. I didn't think we were going to win. I was just so excited to just fly to London for free.
Right.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah, right. And it was like business class. Like, come on, man, that's nuts. And we're there, and I was sitting on the aisle, and the other writers were sitting. I was to my right, like away from the aisle, and they were, onto the category of whatever the screenplay for our category, and I got so scared because there was a cameraman to my left, and I was like,
Oh, right.
I want no part of this, man. And I'm praying, saying, please, not us, please, please. I don't want to go up there. And I wasn't. I just went like on a lark. I wasn't prepared for anything, so I just muttered something, really kind of fairly dumb, and that was the experience. But it was super, super cool.
Hopefully, you remembered Ted's last name when you were thanking him in the speech.
Well, he was there to
Okay.
Terry or Terry's.
He was able
last
to
name.
forget my last name. Oh yeah,
Right.
Terry. Terry was not there. Ted thanked him, I believe. Yeah, it's not an experience if you're a neurotic. You want to.
Oh, I can totally see that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Oof.
What? So you you didn't go to the Oscars? You weren't invited? Like, how does that work?
Oh no,
I imagine it's pretty
we
exclusive.
did go. It was
Oh, okay.
it was cool. But you
Yeah.
know what? At the BAFTAs, I was shaking like a leaf. I was scared. At the Oscars, I had no fear whatsoever, and I knew intuitively that the reason I had no fear is that we were not going to have to go.
You were
up
going to
there.
win.
and in fact, we did not.
Yeah. So what? I'm trying to remember what did win that year, and because it was the best adapted screenplay was the category.
Right, that would have been 2000. What? 2001, 2002.
It was
2002 Oscars. It was 2001 movie, I think.
Right. Yeah.
that
all
year. Gosford Park and A Beautiful
Oh.
Mind won.
Oh, those
for
are
screenplays.
yeah.
I guess one of
okay.
them. I think maybe the latter was adapted. I was
Oh,
going to say
Yeah.
adopted, but
Adopted.
I was too young at that point in time, guys. Sorry.
Right. Those are some good. That's some stiff competition,
That's
though. Those
tough
are some good
competition for
movies.
sure.
Gosford Park is one. That's a great movie.
oh, that was amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's. I mean, that's. I just can't even imagine getting to go to the Oscars. That's it. So.
Oh,
did you
Lord
get
of the Rings
award-
was also adapted, a nominee.
What?
Fellowship
Oh
of the
yeah.
Ring.
Well, yeah. That's
right,
hard.
That's right. It was that year.
That's tough to. That's
We
tough
met
to
the
beat
writer.
too,
We
right?
met Philippa somewhere.
That's some.
Oh,
that's some
that's
stiff
cool.
competition. So wait, was it not nominated for a BAFTA? You would think J.R. Tolkien would have like an
Like a fan
edge
club.
at the BAFTAs, right? Because of being from England and everything. You know,
Well,
they
maybe it
would
was
be
a different category. Maybe the BAFTAs separated.
Yeah, I don't know if they have adapted.
animated
Or,
and
do you remember if it was separate categories for adapted and regular and BAFTAs?
I don't think so.
Okay.
The strongest memory I have of the BAFTAs is afterwards seeing Robert Altman in the bathroom. That was
oh
Wow.
my gosh! Wow.
that's what I take away from the BAFTAs.
So,
Yeah.
what is your favorite series or movie? What is your favorite project that you've worked on thus far?
In TV, I gotta say, working on Pete and Pete, and at the same time working on Beavis and Butthead was kind of like really magical for me because I had been honestly, I had spent about 15 years, writing spec screenplays and trying to, do this sort of thing, and to work on two shows that I like really enjoyed and also respected, that was like pretty great. So that was, I hate to say like that was the highlight, but it was really, it
Yeah.
felt like kind of meant to be in some way. It felt kind of great.
So,
I
do
mean-
you do film anymore? I know that you said in the beginning you are doing like short films. I think that's what you had said in the beginning.
Well, there's not like, the film business has changed a lot, right, over the last 10 or 15 years.
Mhm.
So I do like a little bit. I'm working on a feature stream, Curious George feature for streaming.
Yes, I know.
Oh,
Sorry,
fun.
I love
It's
Curious
like,
George.
Me too,
Fun.
man. I
love
really
Curious.
do. I've worked on a few Curious George projects in the past, and just like, George and Ted, this is a case where I actually don't need to know Ted's last name because it doesn't really matter.
Well, and for the longest time, we didn't even know his first name, right? He was just the man in the
He
yellow
was the
hat
man in the
for
yellow
s-
hat.
Yeah.
for so
I don't know
long.
how we became Ted, but I think
I
the
f-
world.
I feel like it was the movies with Will Ferrell voicing him that introduced
think
him
you're
as
right.
Ted.
Was that the first time?
I think so. I don't know. I mean, I do have a little bit of experience with Curious George because of our kids. So
Sure.
Yes.
Well,
Same.
I mean,
My
I was reading Curious George when I was a kid. That's how far
Yeah.
back Curious George
Yeah.
goes.
Same here.
Yeah.
It was
That's-
iconic when we were kids.
Yes.
yeah,
sure
it was a comic
was.
strip. Yep.
And now my 3-year-old nephew loves it. He'll sit there. He's autistic, and he'll just sit there and pretend that he's the monkey, and as he's eating a banana, just loves it.
Oh.
Loves that. Loves.
That's so cool.
Loves every bit of
Do
it.
you understand your monkey?
What?
Is that?
That's a
Question.
line from the show, from the TV show.
Oh,
I
right.
understand
Okay.
my monkey.
Oh, oh my
I haven't
God.
watched the new show
Wait,
at all.
what?
I have.
I thought, is that a personal question?
I know,
don't know exactly what's happening right now.
I think I see that as a T-shirt.
Yeah,
Right? That has right. That's like a total
I may have to.
promotional opportunity missed.
Yeah, well, we may have to create that and put it in the
I think so. I'm
Merch
gonna have to
Gone
look
Geek
up.
store.
We'll have to put it in our store.
I feel like Joe has a sense of humor that's really great for when we do game nights. We just
Yeah,
get-
right. Well, he's creative and he's a writer. Like when we've had writers join us on there, some of the sometimes we play. We have a game night where I don't know if you've ever heard of Jackbox games, but they're like these games that you can play remotely with friends. All you have to do is answer questions or write prompts. There's prompts and you Mad Libs type games and stuff that you answer on your phone. It's a lot
trivia,
of fun.
if you like
Yeah.
trivia. I
It's
do
good
not.
stuff.
Aaliyah does not like trivia.
So now that you have, you've been to the Oscars. I mean, I don't know I guess winning an Academy Award would be the next step, but just getting to go is obviously, some people would say that's the pinnacle of their career, but now you've decided you've got the novel bug. You've decided to write a novel, The Man Who Came and Went. And I actually picked it up on Kindle. I started reading it. I'm only about 20% in, so I can't give away any spoilers for anybody. But it was fast. I mean, already I'm hooked. I want to find out what's happening. It's very interesting, and you do a great job of painting the characters and this town. Is very vivid. You can kind of picture this happening. Tell us how the book came to be for you, as far as from the idea to actually getting it published. What was that experience?
Well, while I was working on TV and in movies, in between jobs, I was working on a spec screenplay for an indie film, and it was this story, and I was just having a hell of a time, a hard time, figuring out the main character of this guy, Bill. And I went back to the drawing board again and again. I would kind of work on a job and come back to this and write a draft and feel like, that's it, man. I got it. I really, I'm done. But then come back to this afterwards and realize that I wasn't. And so after a while, I just recognized that it may not be the best thing for an indie film. Essentially, the indie market began to really implode over the time that I was working on this thing. It was honestly a couple of decades or longer. And so I really love the story. I really love the characters, and I wanted it to exist somewhere, not just on my computer. And I just decided to try it as a novel. And as soon as I did, it kind of fell into place. And I couldn't believe it took me so long to try it as a novel. I guess I had thought beforehand that everything had to be TV or movies. But the fact is, it was better for the story, and it was really fun for me.
Yeah, tell us a little bit about what the difference. Does your process change when you're writing for novel versus a screenplay? Because obviously, one of the things because as I started reading it, I'm thinking, this is a guy who's written screenplays and written movies, and I've read other books by people who kind of started writing screenplays, and they're very good at creating this movie in your head, because that's what they're good at, right? They make movies in your head. But this book, there's a lot of inner dialogue from the main character. And we really kind of she's really thinking the stuff she's thinking about, that would be really difficult to necessarily paint the same connection that we have to that character in a movie. So what is that process like for you? Do you find that it's you have more freedom in the novel form to kind of really get into their mind, or is it harder to put it into a screenplay? What are the differences in your mind?
Well, the biggest difference is that movies have a sort of grammar to their storytelling, right? It's there's it's lean and it punches, and the scenes have this beginning, middle, and end, which is actually kind of the true for novels. Um, but in a novel, you go deeper into character, than you ever really get to in a movie. And movies are a different animal in part because actors bring a whole level of humanity. Uh, you can give an actor one line, and an actor will put so much into that line that you have a whole human being there. Whereas a novel, the writer is really responsible for the whole human being, and so you have the option, and you really have the necessity to go deeper, and that's actually really cool because you can get into the parts of a human being that are kind of like the deeper parts of you, and that I love.
Yeah. Why don't you give for our audience kind of a brief summary of what to expect? Like, what is this story about?
Okay, I'm prepared with that. I've got what I'm calling the verbal story.
Okay.
So there's a diner, right? It's called Maybell's Diner, and it's located in a tiny Arizona town in the middle of the desert. And one day, a mysterious stranger walks in just as the grill cook throws down his spatula and quits. And the stranger winds up getting a job as a grill cook. Only he's not just a good cook, he knows what people want to eat before they order. His name is Bill, and as the word spreads, people from all over come to this small town to get their orders mind read. And Bill's cooking starts to change people's lives.
Neat.
And that's where I am right now
psychic
in the
grill
story.
cook.
Everybody is kind of like has realized that this is his skill, and they're all like, I think a patron just came in and was trying to get the waitress, and then the waitress like looks over at him, he nods, and they bring the food, and he was like, I didn't even tell you what I want. Yeah, that's kind of where I am right now, and I'm just like, what is happening?
I would love that. Like,
It's so far it's very interesting. Yeah, I'm loving it. So
I need this to be a real thing because I go into a restaurant,
Right.
I never know what I want to eat. But if there was just someone that was just like, you want pancakes, a hamburger, and 3 sausages. I don't know, like just something very
Totally.
random. Like
that's
I
an
just
interesting
curse-
combination.
I know. Just pancakes.
This should be in a
and
clothing store. It should be like
It should be
a real estate
everywhere.
agent should have this.
Right.
That's
Can I
what
just
how
have
much
this
more
person
money
with
will
me
make?
my entire day, just with
Oh,
me?
you just pay them like a chauffeur.
Right.
Well,
Dating services. It should be.
yeah, right.
Dating services, yes.
Well, it's interesting.
So this also goes back into the book that we read for.
Yes, that's what I was going to
another
say.
podcast.
Oh, the
Yeah,
Demolished
so
Man.
we
The
read
Demolished
The
Man,
Demolished Man by Alfred Bester. It was the first Hugo Award winner, with some friends of ours who have a podcast, a writing podcast, and that it's a really great book. And I was actually going to bring that exact thing up, Aaliyah, because there's some description that you give in the beginning of so it's told from first person from the main character, and she explains how Bill says how he thoughts, how he hears the thoughts, and the way he describes it is similar to these future characters who are able to see and hear. You know what I mean? Like they don't talk. It's talking is slower, thinking it to each other is faster, and things like that. And so I was loving that. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really cool, because it's just this like, I don't know. I just love how sci-fi just kind of like, you know what I mean? Like it seeps into everything and has these cool little ideas. And if you haven't read that book, you should. I think you'll enjoy it, because
I
it's,
just wrote it down. It sounds
yeah,
great.
it's a society where a class of people have the ability that Bill has, basically. So therefore you can't get away with murder because everybody knows what you're thinking. Or not everybody, sorry, just the people who
Just
have
the
this.
telepaths,
Yeah.
yeah.
And they're kind of an upper class because of this. But one of the main characters decides he's going to kill someone anyway, and he's trying to commit the perfect crime in a world where you're not supposed to be able to, and then it's about the detective. It's like a cat and mouse kind of thing, trying to catch him. So check it out. It's really good.
Great. Out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, very good.
God, can you imagine how boring our podcast would be if we were all just speaking and
Right.
not using?
I know nobody would just, we'd just turn on. We would just sit here and they would know what we're thinking, and then we'd be done. It probably wouldn't take any time at all. We could get Joe on his way like so much sooner. He's like, I got things to do here. So tell us a little bit more about the book. Anything that you want to share, especially how they can find it and things like that.
Well, you can go to my website, joestillman.com. And the book is really available in bookstores like Barnes & Noble, and it's also on Amazon and plenty of other virtual online places as well.
Yeah, I can confirm that. That's where I got it, Amazon. So
Right, on Kindle.
and like I said, it's really, really good so far. I'm enjoying it. Are you getting a chance, to do any kind of, like a book tour? Like, how are you getting the word out? Are you, with obviously COVID has kept people from doing that kind of stuff for a couple of years. Maybe people are getting back into it. I don't know. What does marketing a novel right now look like in this environment?
Well, because of COVID, I think the tour, takes place just me in my shower, like singing and pretending I'm signing a book.
As you're at your desk, you're just, there you go.
But come May, I think I'll be back east, New York and points north, and I think we're looking to set up some engagements at that point.
So you could get a signed copy if you wanted to.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Can you sign my Kindle copy? I don't know if that's possible.
Well, I think you could sign your Kindle.
Right. Well, it's my iPad, actually.
In Sharpie, I'll just write on your iPad.
Just right on the screen.
That's too funny. But yeah, so that's exciting. So what is next then? Is there, now I haven't gotten to the end, so maybe it's just like, this is it. Or do you think this is a world, Bill and these characters, this is a world you might return to?
In a world.
If you can say without spoiling anything, I don't know. Or do you have other ideas for novels that you're working on next?
Well, I'm liking the clothing store idea. No, but I've been with these characters for a long, long, long time, and I really, really love them. And so if the book, does well, I would love to do another one.
Cool.
Because I have an idea, but it's also, I'm too superstitious to really go down that road. So
Sure.
I'll just wait and see. I will say I think the book is really good, and we've had some. I have Facebook friends, and they started to read it, and we're getting some really great reactions, and so I'm hoping we'll keep going from there as a starting point and go out big.
Nice.
In the world with this.
That's awesome. Well, I wish you the best of luck. Like I said, I'm really enjoying it. I can't wait to finish it. Everybody should go and check it out. What about from movies and screenplays? Any projects that you can speak about that you're working on? Or?
The only one that I believe will get made at this point is that Curious George project that I told you about.
Okay.
Love it.
So that's what's next, hopefully.
Love that.
That's awesome. So let's see. I want to make sure that we get all of your social information and stuff out there. So if people want to follow you on Twitter or Instagram, do you want to tell us what those are?
On Instagram, I'm Joe the Stillman.
Mm-hmm.
And on Twitter, I never use it, so I can't remember who I am. So I would say Instagram, and I'm starting to post some stuff for the book on Instagram. So actually, that would be a great place to check in.
Oh,
Awesome.
cool.
I just followed you. I got you.
There you go.
Nice.
All
I should do
right.
the same.
Well, I want to thank our guest, Joe, for being here tonight. It is an absolute pleasure to have you. Would love to have you back, especially if there is a follow-up to the book, because Then we can talk about. Then we can spoil this one a little bit because you know what I mean. It'll been out for a while, and it's like you should have read it by now. Like we could spoil Shrek by now. I think, right? We can tell people what happened in Shrek. I don't know.
I think legally you may find yourself subject of lawsuit, but you know,
it's out of Joe's hands now.
That's true.
And listen, guys, thank you for having me. This was really fun hanging out and talking with you guys. So thanks for having me on.
No,
it's fantastic. Thank you for being
been great.
Guest. Yeah.
Thanks, Utah. Happy birthday. Thank you, Aaliyah, for being here with us.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry I didn't get you anything.
Your presence is gift enough, Joe.
Right? Exactly. That's what I agree. And it's not even my birthday. But all right. Well, next week on the show is our Oscar pre-show 2022. We will be here from 7 to 8. We will get off right at 8 because we got to see the awards. We want to watch it all live. So we'll tell you some of our predictions. We'll talk about some of the movies that we saw, and hopefully you'll be in the chat telling us some of yours. We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for coming.
We're waving.
Waving.
Go see the Batman.